going to give you a tour of our chicken coop and just talk about some things you might want to do as you plan your own chicken coop. So first we'll just give an overview. On the outside we have an access door to the outdoor run, and we also have an access door to the inside of the coop, as well as a window and an access to the nesting box. One of the things we really wanted as we planned our chicken coop was to be able to stand up inside. We saw a lot of videos of people trying to clean out their chicken coops while bending over, working in a 4-foot space, and it just looked miserable. We just decided we wanted to be able to walk into our coop. Another advantage of raising your coop is underneath the coop gives you all that extra outdoor square footage space for your run. Some other big features of our coop are that we have a roof over the entire coop and the main section of the outdoor run. We planned to do a deep litter method, which when it gets rained on and gets really wet and soggy, can get really stinky and gross. All right, so we have our windows open right now because it's a nice warm day, but in the wintertime when it gets cool or when it's super windy, we can close this window hatch here. It just has 2 locking clamps on the inside of the window that fold into the frame. And we do have a locking mechanism just to keep it nice and secure. But for now, we will leave it open because it is a beautiful day and it gets hot in the coop. This pulley right here, is the open and close for the pop door for the chickens to come in and out of their coop. In the summertime, we leave this open all the time, so they can just come in and out as they want. They'll come in the evening and go out in the morning when they're ready. In the winter, we'll close it up just to keep it a little warmer. If your coop is not secure, you need to close that every night. Our coop is secure around the entire perimeter, as well as underground, so we don't need to worry too much about keeping the coop itself secure, because the run is secure underneath and around. So let's go ahead and take a peek on the inside. We have these locking mechanisms. You'll notice every lock on our coop has a 2-part system. We do have raccoons in our area. Most people are going to have raccoons in their area. So you want to be sure to have a 2-point locking system because raccoons can work through a 1-point. So with this one, you have to turn it and flip it, and a raccoon is not going to be able to do that. We actually got all of these hinges off old packing crates. Most of the supplies we used for our coop were reused. I think the only things we purchased were these siding panels, the roofing material, and the hardware cloth for the screen. Okay, so taking a look inside, we have our height and opening designed perfectly for a wheelbarrow. You might take a look at our big clean out video. That'll show you how we did our clean out using the wheelbarrow right up to the coop. But we can pull our wheelbarrow right up here. It has a bit of a lip, so all this will fall right into the wheelbarrow when we clean the coop out. So taking a look inside, you can see we do the deep litter method here, so it's stacking up a little bit, but it has a long way to go. Here's our nesting box, and looks like we've got quite a few eggs in here today. See 2 eggs, and then we also have our dummy eggs that just help our chickens remember where they're supposed to lay their eggs. So we designed our nesting box to fit 2 chickens, keeping in mind that our birds are large birds. However, they only use 1 space. So that's pretty common. Most chickens all like to use the same nesting box, so you could have 5 nesting boxes and they'll all just use the same one and wait for it. Instead of just going ahead and laying their egg, they'll actually wait and throw a fuss waiting for nesting box they prefer. On this nesting box, you'll see we have a little landing bar for them to be able to easily get in and out of it. We also have a slanted roof, so they cannot land and sit on top of the nesting box. That's important because you don't want any droppings landing in your nesting box. All right, taking a look at other features. We have our roost here, and we'll do another video on how to design a great roost. But some features that have to do with the coop as a whole. You want your roost to be higher than your nesting box. Otherwise, they will try to roost in your nesting box. And that just leads to a big mess and broken eggs and poo inside the nesting box. You don't want that. You want your roost to be higher than your nesting box. So you can see here, there's a few inches difference between the two, and they will always choose the higher roost for the evening. They like to be up as high as they can get. Currently we have a little second roost for our chickies that we are just working on incorporating into our flock. That's not usually in here, but just to make it a little more peaceful and so the chicks aren't getting pecked all night. They're actually roosting down here for now. So down here, I'm gonna just push some of these shavings away. You can see we have a linoleum floor. The reason we did that was just to keep it really clean. We can just sweep the whole thing off. It's really easy to clean up. We can wipe it down if we need to. If there's ever any moisture, it just sits on top. It doesn't absorb into the wood, so our coop won't start to get rot. Our coop won't start to rot out and degrade over time. It should stay pretty good. All right, inside our coop, we have another pulley here, and this pulley controls the window in the back. Again, we keep this closed most of the winter. Most of the summer it just stays open. There's a little hook right here, and so the window will stay secured closed when we want it to. For now, we will leave it open. I have to work with my bum hand, so everything's a little harder right now. All right. You can see the pop door back there. I'll just show you how the door works in the back. So you just pull that pulley and lock it up. If you want to take a look on the inside here, you'll see that we do not have a closed coop. We live in Colorado. It gets very cold here, and yet we do not seal our coop. And there's a big reason for that. A lot of people believe they need to keep their chickens warm in the winter time. The chickens are fully capable of keeping themselves warm if you have chosen good chickens for your area. We have 1 Buff Orpington and now 4 Brahma chickens, and they are all fully capable of keeping themselves plenty warm in the wintertime. A lot of people will see their chickens getting frostbite, and the reason for that is because of the humidity inside their coop. So they're sealing up their coop and trying to close off any possible drafts in their coop to prevent any cold air from coming in. But what's really happening is they are trapping all the humidity and moisture inside their coop, and that is what's causing the frostbite to occur. So for us, we have an open system coop, so there is plenty of ventilation along the top, not where the chickens are roosting. We try to keep the drafts off the chickens directly, but up on the top along the roof line, there's plenty of ventilation, as well as these added vents at the top on either side of the coop. So there's plenty of cross flow across the top to bring the moisture out of the coop. And we've had our chickens for 2 winters now, and we have not had a single case of frostbite or any issues with the cold. And it has gotten cold. I think it's gotten to at least 15, 20 below some of those nights. So it hasn't been an issue as long as you have an open coop. We do try to seal off any drafts down below, like I said, to keep that cold air from kind of blowing up under the chickens' behinds during the night or across their heads. And we'll talk about the roost height in another video, but you do want to make sure that you plan your roost height high enough that the chickens are comfortable, but low enough that they are safe to get on and off it without getting hurt. So bigger chickens need it a little lower. Okay, so on the outer door of our coop, we just have this little flip latch that we just put a carabiner on. At night, this is probably overkill, but for our 2-point locking system, we do have a padlock that we just lock on here. We leave the key hanging right next to it, but no raccoon is going to be able to open that. We aren't too worried about people breaking into our coops, but I suppose if you are, you can always lock them up for that reason. That's not why we have that. So let's go on in. Hello, ladies. Got Chickaletta and Spunky here. Oh, Chickaletta wants to go out for a little adventure. That's all right. We'll let him out for a minute. We like to let our chickens roam our yard as much as we can. However, they are super destructive. So we're getting ready to get our gardens in, and some of our plants are starting to grow. So we let them out supervised right now. All right, so in here you'll again see this venting up at the top. Plenty of venting, so the coop is never sealed, not even in the winter time. We do have this huge window which lets in a lot of fresh air, but also seals closed in the winter time with the 2-point locks. Although inside our secure area we don't necessarily need these, but we had them, so that's what we used. This whole system has just worked wonderfully. It's a huge window, so you could take a look and see how much airflow the chickens are getting in here. It's pretty much the whole wall of this chicken coop. And their roost bar is right in front of it, so all night long when it's hot, hot, hot out, they get a nice cool breeze. Some other features to look at. We do have a light. We don't have a light inside our coop. We don't feel we need to give them extra light. Some people like to do that to increase egg production. We just let them produce eggs based on the daylight hours and not worry about giving them extra light. But we do have a light for us. So when we come in here at night, it's kind of nice to just be able to see what we're doing. On occasion we have issues, like right now, Spunky, our light Brahma, she has decided she doesn't want to sleep on the roost. So each night we're having to come in and put her up there. She's getting the idea again, but there are just reasons you need to come in at night. So the light is handy. We also have an outlet here, and that is so we can plug our water heater in during the winter time. We have our water bucket here, and during the winter we just put a heater in there to keep the water from freezing, and we can just plug that right into the outdoor outlet here. All right, so underneath the coop, like I mentioned earlier, we raised our coop, and so there's tons of outdoor run space underneath the coop. We have a total of 64 square feet underneath are in this enclosed coop area alone, which gives the birds plenty of their own space. Even for our 5 birds, it's way more than they need. I think that ends up being about 12 feet. All right. We do have just kind of this makeshift roost on the outside. We just kind of throw some things together. They seem to enjoy being able to roost a little bit outside. You can just do whatever you want with in your run, but that's one of the things we like. We also have our outdoor calcium and grit source. We'll go over that in another video, but it's handy to have. We can easily refill it. It just sits out here, and they always have access to their calcium and the grit. Right now, we just have temporary waterer and feeder. The chicks are learning to transition to the built-in feeders and waterers in the coop. But for now, this gives them an extra source. So when they're trying to get access to food and water and the chickens are hogging it, they have that. And it's also just more familiar to them. Here is our water bucket. So we refill this once or twice a week. We installed these nipples. We'll do a video on this too, but the system has worked out perfectly. We have had no issues with it. It's been great. We have our chicks here. We have Uncle Feather, she's getting so big, and Lloyd, he's getting big too. Come in to say hi. We are about a week into introducing them to the flock inside the coop. They had a little time together outside. It's been a little rough, but they're hanging in there. All right, so here we have our feeders, and this system has also just worked out fantastic. They are 4 access points to eat from, so really aren't too many squabbles over trying to get to the food with the big girls. These caps easily remove, and we just pour more food in, and it's a super easy system. We probably refill this every 1 to 2 weeks, but it's fantastic because we can go out of town and not worry about our chickens running out of food. And here we have our ramp that goes up into the chicken coop. We initially thought it might be too steep for the chickens, but it has worked out just fine. They have no issues with it. We just make sure that you have some crossbars going up so they have something to grip on as they walk up. I think that concludes the tour of the inside of the coop. Now let's just take a quick peek at our extended outer run. So we have another run on the outside. It's not as secure as this run, and we don't ever leave the access to this open at night, just to keep any predators out. However, during the day, our chickens are pretty big. We live in an urban area, so we aren't too concerned about predators during the day. So come on in and check out our extended outer run. We have our hatch that they can get in and out of their inner run, their secure run. So this door, we just open in the morning. At night, we lock it with 2 locks on the inside. And that keeps them safe and secure during the night. But during the day, pretty much every day, they have access to this outdoor area. Our coop is designed that they have enough space underneath that they could just stay under there all the time. But more space equals happier birds, so we like to give them lots of space. So per our city code, our chicken coop, the coop itself, the run doesn't count for some odd reason, but the coop can't be within, I forget, I think it was 8 feet of the adjoining property lines. And so we built our coop to those requirements, but that left us with all this space between our coop and the fence. And so we just used this for an extended outer run. So they have a huge amount of space in here. That comes around and loops all the way over, and we'll show you the other end of it. It's easier to see from the outside, but they have plenty of space to roam and dust bathe and do whatever they want back here. All right, so this is kind of the outer view of the extended outdoor run. This type of run is not going to work for everyone. It depends on your chickens. Now, we have really large chickens and they can't really fly very high. So our 4-foot high outdoor run is plenty sufficient. They never fly out of it. Our chicks that are a lot smaller can fly out of this. So if you have smaller chickens, you're gonna need to cover any outdoor run you have if you don't want them to escape. There are chickens that can fly over 6-foot fences as well, which is what we have on the back side of our property here. So if you have chickens that can fly, you're gonna have to have a covered run. But for us, with our very big ladies, we're fine with this. They have never escaped, other than the chicks. All right, so some of our weather features that we have on our coop include this rain gutter. It just collects all the rain that's running off of the roof and keeps it from just piling in a big muddy pile right outside the nesting box, or even running down the coop into the nesting box. So I'll just open this hatch real quick and take a quick peek at our nesting box. Super easy access. We like that it drops down, not lifts up, because if a chicken is currently in here, we don't really disturb her too much by lifting it down. But if you're coming from the top and coming up into her, she might be a little more stressed. All right, we still need to connect a down pipe to our gutter. Our plan is to put a rain barrel here and have just a nice, natural, clean source of water for the chickens. We just haven't gotten to that quite yet. And then one last feature, you might notice all these black hooks that we have running along the outside of the coop. These are all to connect our tarps in the winter time. We like to try and keep out most of the snow. We don't try to keep it all out, but we try to keep out the depth of the snow during the winter time. So if you want to see more on that, there is another video. Just check it out on our page, and it'll talk about the tarps we use and how we connect them. I think that concludes the tour of our chicken coop. We had a lot of fun designing this. We put a lot of thought into it just to make sure that our chickens would be happy. And I can honestly say I don't think there's anything I would have changed. Everything has just worked out beautifully. So if you have any questions, please feel free to comment and we'll do our best to answer those questions. And please click subscribe and we will share more about our adventures in fishing, chickens, homeschooling, and our crazy lives. Thank you. Have a good one.